Hello, I'm Wendy Blom, a video producer. In 1997, I began working at the public access television station in Lowell, Massachusetts. Lowell is home to 27,000 Cambodian immigrants and their families, most of whom left Southeast Asia from refugee camps in Thailand. They'd survived one of the worst genocides in history at the hands of the Khmer Rouge, an army of communist extremists. Their stories of survival fascinated me, and I wondered how people are able to find the strength to put the horrors of war behind them to build new lives. In 1999, I was able to travel to Cambodia with a group of 6 people led by a Lowell Cambodian, Arn Chorn Pond. His story is the centerpiece of this video. From the beginning of civilization, we humans have pondered the nature of good and evil. Our ability to choose between the two is the essence of what it means to be human. Good and evil, right and wrong are choices we make as individuals every day. But right and wrong are not always easily distinguished, as sometimes an evil act leads to good, and sometimes an act performed in good faith turns wrong. Many atrocities have been committed by those believing that the end justifies the means. The 20th century has seen evil personified. For us, Adolf Hitler is the standard by which all other evildoers are measured. For most Cambodians and others who know, Pol Pot and his Khmer Rouge cadre are just as evil. Unlike the other genocides of this century, which were motivated by ethnic differences, Cambodians turned on each other. From 1975 to 1979, Pol Pot carried out his plot to purify Cambodia of all traces of foreign and capitalist influences. The Khmer Rouge reign of terror caused the miserable deaths of 1 of every 4 Cambodians by starvation, murder, and disease. A great many Cambodians who lived through that time were forced to act in ways that went against their moral codes in order to survive. The country of Cambodia continues to deal with the effects of that time, including the terrible loss of family, community, and culture. This program explores how Cambodians, individually and collectively, are working to become whole again. In the jungle of central Cambodia lies Angkor Wat, the ancient royal city of temples built between the 9th and 13th centuries to glorify the Khmer rulers and their Hindu and Buddhist deities. Almost every surface is adorned with intricate sculptures and carvings. A central theme of this ancient art is the struggle between the forces of good and evil. That struggle continues today as Cambodians try to purge the evil of the killing fields from their souls. Arn Chorn Pond was just a child when the Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia. Separated from family and friends, he survived by serving his Khmer Rouge captors as a musician, and later, when the Vietnamese army invaded, as a child soldier. The evil he experienced is with him every day. His story begins in 1975 when he was a young boy of 8, living in the town of Battambang.
I knew war was started already in Cambodia. I knew that, but sporadically I heard guns around, like artillery, far away. But the war didn't affect me very much. I know that Cambodia had war. I didn't know what war against who or with whom. I didn't know. I heard the word Americans, but I had no idea. And it doesn't bother me at all. I don't know anything about it. That's all changed. Everything changed all of a sudden. You know the story of the Khmer Rouge came in. I mean, I wasn't prepared or anything. I was still living with my family. But when the Khmer Rouge came in with the trucks of soldiers coming in with the tanks, the first sight I saw was the tanks with many tanks on the highway. We live close by, our house located right in front of the highway 5, I think, Highway 4, Highway 5, from Battambang to Phnom Penh. And I came out with other kids, you know, seeing many trucks and tanks with the Khmer Rouge on the top of the tanks, and many of them were many of them were a little bit older than I was, and with the scarf and the cap, the Chinese cap, I think, on their head, and they were cheering. But many of them were like have a grim face. Many of them they had angry face, and I didn't know why, but we were cheering them like everybody else. I was standing aside of the road and cheering them. Everybody, I've heard the words "Santi Piep," which means peace. Peace is coming. Peace is coming, and I didn't know why peace is coming, but at least war stopped. The artillery stopped, but I didn't know who the Khmer Rouge was fighting for. And there was an incident that the Khmer Rouge came in. A group of the Khmer Rouge put their guns down, and they stopped in front of the elementary school where I taught some of the group of the Khmer Rouge how to play soccer. And then one older Khmer Rouge like left the circle, and he stopped a motorcycle, and I followed him, and he just stopped this guy and said in Khmer, "Sna," which means can I borrow your bike? And I don't think the word is very strange to us, but the word "sna" means borrowed. The guy said, "No, I can't let you borrow my motorcycle." Just that, I think the Khmer Rouge took the gun and hit him in the back of the head, and he fell on the ground, and he didn't shoot the guy, but that was the first time I saw somebody did that to another person. I ran off home and told my family about it, my aunt, and told my family. They don't pay attention. 3 days later, they said that the Americans are going to bomb all of you because we won against them. They're going to come and bomb. So we would go out for 3 days and we come back. And the next morning, I saw like thousands of people walking on the street, on that road, on the highway. And they told us that you don't need to take anything with you. 3 days we would come back. So I'm up 3 or 4 or 5 years.
In 1974, Phnom Penh was a huge, modern capital city. It was overflowing with refugees from the American bombing of Vietnamese targets in the Cambodian countryside. When the Americans left Southeast Asia, they left a power vacuum that the Chinese-trained communist Cambodian army called the Khmer Rouge quickly filled. Within days, the Khmer Rouge took over Phnom Penh and forced everyone out to be re-educated as peasants in communal camps in the countryside. Sang Thi was 7 when his family was forced from their village to a labor camp.
But I think back in the earliest I could remember, you know, before the Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia, Cambodia is very peaceful and it's very people are very gentle and very friendly and you know. I grew up in a small town, and everyone know everybody, and plus my father was a doctor, and he's helped many people in his town as much as he could, and that morning we heard the Khmer Rouge came in to our town. And the first Khmer Rouge came was they raised their white flags and parade around the town and said we're here to save all of you, and now we are peace. And there was a smile, and then I remember that I got a toot in front of the house and just waving, and I ran back to my mother and said, Mom, it's peace, we can go back to our house now. So be just a joying moment that that the war is it's over. So and then later on, there's another Khmer Rouge group came on the rode on the tanks and jeeps, and suddenly they carried the microphones and talking to the people have to move because the Americans going to come to bomb. So everyone had to evacuate from the city and immediately. And certainly, and just a few hours, and then it's the Khmer Rouge turned violence, and getting violent, shooting people, force people to get out from town as soon as we could. And I remember my father, packed everything, put in the cart, and had to went along with thousands of people.
Svang Tor was a middle-class young mother when the Khmer Rouge forced her and her family out of Phnom Penh to a small village.
They starved us. We had no energy and to do anything because always the gun point to us. When we walk on the street, they around us. And then the way they did to us to scare people too. Like when I left Wat Phnom and on the way to Route 6, and they killed a lot of people on the street. Like some of them, have no clothes on, and they took all the clothes, and then like the dead body on the road, and then people scared when they saw that. And then some people, when we go to on the way to the rice field, they saw the dead body, and sometimes they heard the gun shot people there. And then people, and also we don't have anything, just bare hand with some food, some clothes, and we cannot do anything.
Very soon after we left, with thousands of people on the highway, we were settled in a place where we have to make our own huts. There were no homes or anything. Now the Khmer Rouge began to go around with the with their piece of paper and jot down of the family history. What your father is doing in the past, what your mother was doing in the past, what their professions are. And family began to disappear. And soon later after that, I was taken away by the Khmer Rouge from my aunt. I remember the Khmer Rouge said, now we have to go now. Members of family cannot stay together anymore. We need you to go out and work. So I think they began to start a campaign of strict division, which the mother stay with the mother, and the father go and work with the father, and young people work with the young peoples, and the babies. From what I knew in my cooperative, the Khmer Rouge began to kill a lot of old people, like old people over the age of 65. They killed them. They said that the old people can't work, so we don't benefit anything if they live, and we don't lose anything if we kill them. So they killed them, many of them. So they found out that later that there were nobody taking care of the babies, because they take the mother away, the father away, and the kid from 6 years old, 5 years old to 12 years old were putting in one particular area, in one place, where in this case I was taken by them. We walked on a row of young people walking, and they sort of snatched my hand from my aunt. And I remembered my aunt, I never seen her again that day. And my aunt loved me very much. I'm the only child. And she just said, she prepared a pillow for me. And that night, that particular night before, the night before, we didn't sleep the whole night, and we stayed in a hammock. We stayed in our hut, and she was talking to me about taking care of myself, and she said we will see each other again somehow. We don't know. And the Khmer Rouge walking around at night, you know, we try to speak very low voice, tone of voice, because they were after us. I was taken to a temple. Again, I ended up in the temple, but not in the same temple. But this time, I was sent there with 500 kids, aged from 5 to about 12. I was at that range. I was about 8 or 9, and we were sent to live there and to die there. Us, we were asked to work. An orphan. We were asked to work from 5 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night, in the rice field, maybe a mile, 2 miles far away. But when we come back, we have a rest. Sometimes we had time to rest. The Khmer Rouge would force us to go out and help to see the punishment they did. There's a woman who I know, she refused to cut her hair. She has a dark, beautiful hair, and she said, "No, I love my hair." And they told her that, they said that, you know, because you're from a rich family, that's why you like your, and now every girl has to cut their hair to work. Now you don't own anything, you don't you know, become stingy of anything. The hair is a sign, your long hair is a sign of beauty. Beauty is a sign of imperialists and rich people and blah blah blah. And then they put her in she refused to cut her hair. They put her into a drum, big drum, in a temple drum, and they burned the drum from the outside, and they banged the drum, and you know the sound of the drum that make her blood coming from her nose and from her ears and from her eyes, and her hair dropped. She came out just like a ghost, you know, looked like a ghost. And I saw many things I saw there, and many times they brought us out of our center, and we would make a circle. Young people would make a circle, or kids, and they punish, they kill people. The Khmer Rouge made a special axe, like this small axe, to kill people right in the back of the axe. They make a really special one, small one. They hit it right in the back of the head. Sometimes I saw they took the prisoner out, and they ask us children to watch, and the Khmer Rouge would look at our face if we show any emotion, like if we were to show any that emotion that we care about the people that they punish. They would take us and kill us right in the spot. Some of the kids who were with me in the circle, one of them cried out, you know, like the tears coming out. They took the kids and killed them in the orange plantation, which is very nearby my house. It's just across a small stream, and you can hear it from that small stream. If I stay here, where's my center here? In the middle of the day, 3 times or 4 times a day, I hear the axe hitting the back of the head, like you hit a coconut. And they kill 3 or 4 times a day, and we sometimes were forced to watch that 3 or 4 times a day. I personally was forced to take off clothing, and before they stuck the bayonet into the person, and they take out the spleen and the liver out, and they buried them alive sometimes.
District 5 is one of the toughest district that the Khmer Rouge killed many people, and also people would die of starvation. My father the Khmer Rouge killed him, and took him in the middle of the night, and said that Uncle need him for a couple of days. So we knew that. We knew, you know, when the Khmer Rouge came in, and then looking for my father. I said, my mother. I remember my mother were crying, and we were crying. That, you know, that's the end of my father. That the last minute that I saw my father's face. We tried to hide it from the Khmer Rouge in a way that my father told all the children that if the Khmer Rouge asked you know, what your family, what your father or your mother do for a living. And then, you know, my father told us that he's collecting cans and, you know, selling to the Chinese people. And we hid them quite probably a few months, but the Khmer Rouge was suspicious of my father because the way he looks, it's a little, you know, his features and it look is not like, you know, came from the poor family. So one day they decided he's going to be the next on the list. Yeah.
The old man, I didn't even know his name. He was brought by the Khmer Rouge. He was not a prisoner at all, but you see, for an old man like him, he was about 65 or something, he would have been killed already. But I think they found out that it was useful for him to come and teach. They select 5 of us, 5 kids to learn. This is a while of this, all of this screaming. The kids were dying while they were, you know, screaming for mercy. Some kids were killed because they were also, they couldn't work anymore. And but then I raised my hand and I said I want to play music instead. So they chose 5 kids to be taught by this old man. 3 days, 4 days, the old man said that, you know, the 2 kids were, I think he identified the best. I was the number 1, and the other 1 kid was number 2, and the 3 kids will not succeed. Number 3, number 4, number 5, they were taken away. No comeback. So I was lucky among the 5. And but 4 days he taught me for 4 or 5 days, and he said, "Arn, you know, I'm sure the Khmer Rouge, I feel that the Khmer Rouge will take me." I said, "Don't say that." I told him in my language. I said, "Don't say that. He's not going to take you anywhere." I didn't even ask his name, what his name was, and I think he had a feeling, and it was lucky enough that the Khmer Rouge did not ask me to kill him, because the Khmer Rouge play games with killing. So I learned how to play. Very lucky I played, and the flute, and I learned how to play the other instrument called the kim. And when I learned the kim, I had permission to practice at night after all of this thing, and I couldn't, because you're in the middle of hell, you know. You smell blood, you smell shit, you smell dirt, you smell everything, and you just died there, living there. And the kid was screaming and stuff. I was able to escape in a way, because I was asked to practice my instruments, and in that moment I played the flute and I played that instrument. I feel like I was in another world.
My name is Chad Piasat, and right now I am 29 years old. And I came to the United States at the age of 10 in the summer of 1981. And like many Cambodians, I crossed the border, the Thai-Cambodian border by foot, along with many other refugees. And in 1979, after the Vietnamese came, after the Khmer Rouge. And during the Khmer Rouge, I was a child, so I was about 7 years old. And in my, where I was evacuated to, was a place where I didn't see the level of killings that many other accounts, many people have witnessed. But the problem was starvation, of not having enough to eat. And I almost died of starvation. And I went back to Cambodia in May 1994 to work there as a volunteer for 2 years. And then I went back again last summer of '99 to do my research. And I think there's a lot of social and economic destruction and also the political infrastructure is really bad. There's no sense of justice because I have darker skin, and people think that I'm a peasant. You know, being a peasant is like you're the bottom of the social class. And if you have lighter skin, you have money, you have wealth, then you're the all-powerful. And if you wear gold and you show it, you know, people fear you. And then people in the government, you need to address them in a certain way. It's like there's this hierarchy, you know, you have to call them your excellency, you're not, it's already people are separating themselves, like they and us and them. It's more like you up here and I'm down here, or you are over here. It's that sense of unequalness that to me it's unhealthy, because it creates a social environment where resentment and hatred is built. And when I was in Cambodia, I finally understood why the Khmer Rouge was targeting the wealthy class and the educated. Because in the past, the educated elite used their education not for the benefit of society, but more for themselves, more like to gain a better social class. See? And then if you have like 80% of the people who are rural based, who are poor, and some of these people migrated to the city to work, and they work as a waiter, they work as shoe shiner and things like that, you know, that affects your whole well-being, and it created this atmosphere of resentment and hatred. So people can be brainwashed to kill very easily. And so when a Pol Pot come and say, look, you have a shitty life, and look at these people are stepping all over you, you know, of course you're gonna stir up, right? Look at Hitler, right? When Hitler came, because the economic situation in Germany wasn't really good, right? So he scapegoated the Jews, because a lot of Jewish people were the people who had wealth, and who the Jewish people are like the Chinese. You know, wherever they go, they bring economic growth. They do businesses, they own businesses and things like that. So in that, the condition was there, you know, for that kind of resentment and hatred to happen. When I went back, I said, God, you know, how can people do this? Like, these people are so gentle and kind, and even I was questioning my own evil. You know, I said, you know, if I was put in that situation, would I commit this murder? And I don't know. I couldn't answer that.
Now, when I look back, I said, wow, it used to be Cambodian, very gentle people, and then suddenly it turned to be such a monster. I think one of the reasons that during those Khmer Rouge time that most the top leaders, I mean the Khmer Rouge, they was brainwashed the kids who you know, peasant kids, and who, you know, who never have any schoolings, or, you know, live their life in the village, and Khmer Rouge, and then uneducated people, that those Khmer Rouge attract those kind of people to you know, to believe in one things. And for example, the Khmer Rouge taught people to, you know, the poor to hate the rich, and the uneducated people to hate the educated people. Yeah.
It was very lucky for me also to have the Khmer Rouge leader wanted to listen to music. So I wasn't only the performer, I was also taking care of a cow, and a special cow and a horse, 2 cows and a horse. That's my also other job for that. So I sleep in a cow dung every day, and imagine the mosquitoes nearby his house. So he began to like me though. I'm not sure why, and I was so really careful to not have you know, a cow or his horse going down with the pounds. You know, if if I don't take care of the cows or horse very well, I could be right away. But I also in the evening I would play flute for him if he have other, you know, like dignitarian, not dignitarian, but you know, leaders, Khmer Rouge leader comes and eat, I would perform for them. That's my other job, and that's the reason probably they saved me, not to kill me. I had a man and other teachers. One teacher who's very right now came in by the Khmer Rouge. He has his own other story, but he was brought to me and 3 other musicians to come and say, here, they told me that here, there are older people who will be with you and playing music, traditional music, will be playing the art revolutionary song with you, with the performance. So now we have more musicians and we go perform like music and the dance places. Now we not only perform in one place, but we travel around. And I became very close friend with this man, his name Mac. Yuan Mac. Also, he has no food to eat. I mean, people, we got a little more food, but stealing in the Khmer Rouge time is a no-no. You steal, you get killed. And Mr. Mac told me that I stole especially, you know, sugar and tobacco is very, very, very expensive, very significant. I stole. You know, there's Khmer Rouge around now. I don't want to tell you what I did, but I stole the sugars, and I stole tobacco for him, and for other musicians too. Almost many times, regularly. And if I got caught, probably I wouldn't be here. And I've done that, and I forgot all about it. He told me later on that I've done that, and he's very much thankful for me to save his life this way. And it made me feel good to, for the first time, to know that I've done something good, you know, for all of these things I was forced to do. You know, after a while you feel like you are a beast, you know, you are a evil, you know, and I was a little boy, you know, I don't want to do all those things, but it's a feeling inside, and at the first time, very few times that I hear this, that I've done at least something good for other people. So I enjoy that now.
During the Khmer Rouge time, 90% of all musicians, dancers, and artists were targeted for death. The Khmer Rouge wanted no part of the old culture, envisioning a new agrarian society based on the revolutionary Chinese model. When the Vietnamese forced the Khmer Rouge from power, many feared that traditional Cambodian culture had been lost forever. In 1996, Arn started an organization called the Cambodian Master Performers Project. Its task is to locate master performers who survived the genocide and get them enough money to begin teaching a new generation. He located his former teacher from the camps, Mr. Mek, who was barely surviving as a barber in the countryside, and got him started teaching again.
To me, arts in Cambodia is a betrayal of the gentleness and kindness of the Khmer people. Their music, their dance, you can see a lot of their classical dance it's about achieving that balance between good and evil. Cambodians have always had an oral tradition of passing on their arts and their various art forms to the younger generation. So this is important of the way they teach and the way they pass on the moral values in society to the younger people. So story, dance, opera have played a significant role, especially from my own childhood. I remember seeing those things, listening to radio, going to the opera, and remembering these stories. The Cambodian Americans, the arts help them connect to their Khmer culture, their Khmer roots. You can see the pride sometimes. That's the only when they talk about the Angkor Wat, when they talk about the Khmer Empire, how great they were. That they don't think about what the empire did, how the murder, maybe there was a lot of slaves, but they think of that greatness. It's a way of linking themselves to that greatness and to be able to feel good about themselves. And I think because everything else has been destructive and negative, so going back to linking to that dance, to that art form, that's really peaceful and very, it gives you a connection again, and I think it's important.
I think music is a big influence, and I would say it's part of healing too. And every time I miss Cambodia, and I listen to music, and then the music has helped your mind calm, and it's helped to bring back to the good memories. Yeah.
Then 79, 4 years of Khmer Rouge time, and the Vietnamese invaded Cambodia. So 1979, I was right away taken the flute away by the Khmer Rouge, and I was forced into the army. Right away, the Khmer Rouge told us that the Vietnamese invaded now. They're all your enemies, and they're invading now. So we have to go and fight. So many kids, young kids, who was about our age, 10, 12, 13-year-old, they were shot in the head by the Khmer Rouge just because they refused. They didn't refuse. They just said. They just said to the Khmer Rouge. They said, "How to use the gun? I never had an experience to use these guns before." They shoot them, and I knew right away. They took my flute, and I just know. I live with the Khmer Rouge. I know them. I just took the gun and just go, and they shipped us. They trucked us into the front line. They just put us. No training, nothing. I have to figure it out how to use the guns, how to shoot right there and right then. And can imagine the Vietnamese are very good, many Vietnamese. And I've never been in war before. And imagine many of my friends got shot in the head and the stomach left and right from me. They don't know how to do it. It's just hell for me too. And the problem with me was that I see them, and many times I held them, I become very close friend with those kids, and sometimes they die for me. They saw the enemies very close, the Vietnamese. I didn't see them, and they run in front of me, and they got shot for me. The little kids. And usually I don't talk enough about them. And they sacrificed their life for me, and I mention now, it makes me feel very, very lucky, and I'm grateful for them risking their lives to save mine. Because they saw the enemies close by, I didn't. And many of the kids, I hold them in my arm and blood all over the place. And the way I feel then, like you hold them, but you can't help them. Blood all over you. You feel like powerless. You feel helpless. That's the worst feeling I ever want to experience.
It's in your head, probably the rest of your life. It's there all the times, and then every time you think about it, it clicks, come, and then sometimes you couldn't even, like, you feel like you're there again. You know, sometimes I had nightmares that I was cutting grass and working on the rice fields, and the Khmer Rouge tortures and chase you, and you woke up, goodness, you're in America. Yeah.
Cambo Kids is a non-profit organization in Phnom Penh that has developed a model for dealing with children who suffer from the stress of war. The children have not experienced the war themselves, but their parents' experiences affect how they're raised. Many people feel that it's too difficult for adult Cambodians to really heal, and that Cambodia's strength will depend on the next generation. Tay Chanto, project coordinator, works there with the children, teaching them to deal with stress through play.
In Cambodia, after armed conflict, the old people full of trauma. They lost their identity, they lost their property, lost everything, culture, etc. So they are traumatized people. They feel afraid that bad thing will happen for their children. So they care their children a lot. When the children play, they don't like their children play because they think play is a waste of time for the children, because they feel that when the children play, it may have a dangerous thing for them. You see, you learn, you are not a good student. Stop playing, come and work. You will bad. In fact, the parents, they are worrying about their children. They think that learning is a good thing for the children for the future. So the concept of playing in Cambodia is still low. For the children full of stress like this, it's good for them to choose everything that they think it's important to release, to have their emotion. So they play with their emotion. For example, we offer them the paper. So the paper, a good drawing, it is not a drawing that we can see a beautiful one. Yeah, a drawing that the children think, I want to draw the cat that I feel afraid. I draw the giant, so they can do something we cannot understand, but the children understand themselves. The children express emotion on the small piece of paper that we offer to them. For the toy that we develop, we try to integrate our culture in that game, because you see that after armed conflict, during the long war, our children lost their own cultural identity. They know nothing, they know very little about their own.
Yes, it was very lucky for me to have survived at all the war between the Khmer Rouge and the Vietnamese. I went across Thailand to the border camp, where I was sent back in the camp in Thailand with the other orphans. I always end up in orphans, weighing that time probably 40 pounds. I was about 12 years old, and I got very big malaria, serious malaria and other diseases. But then that's where I met my foster father, who, Mr. Peter Pond, who later on brought me to America in 1980. And that's where I ended up in New Hampshire. The next day he took me to a shop in New Hampshire, and I ended up got arrested for shoplifting. And the next day I went to high school, got a fight with the kids and got trouble, and I ended up breaking school windows and stuff. I ran away from home, but I would have been in trouble right now, still in jail. But my dad did not give up on me, and he pursued in talking to the White Mountain Regional High School principal to put me in the soccer team, which I played for 1 or 2 years, and we became 2 or 3 times state championships on a row. And I like to think that's where I can put all my energy there. But still, beside having feeling nobody understand, feel like the American kid don't understand, I was confused. I don't know where my family were, and I did not know why I leave my country, and I just told everything confused to me, and I got very angry and also continued to feel very guilty because I still had nightmare the time when I couldn't sleep at night in New Hampshire. People don't understand me. I don't feel. My mom and my dad are very, I like to say thank you to them for understanding me and not giving up on me about all of my problems that I went through inside of me. Nobody else could understand. The police, the school, you know, and other people. But I began to learn how to speak English 2 or 3 years later, where I just burst out and speaking out about how I felt. And I wanted to kill myself, I continued to want to kill myself because I don't feel like all of this confusion, and also I don't know why I get very angry in myself. I get angry at other people who don't understand me. I seem to like get angry in the world. I don't know why, and sometimes the anger is out of nowhere, and I feel it inside of me, and I hate that feeling. I hate, you know, feeling hate. I hate those things. So I think my foster father have encouraged me to speak about my life, you know, the limited English I had, but I pursue it, and that's how I continue to speak about it, and people liked it. First time I remembered I was asked to speak at a church with about a few hundred people, and after I speak about my name is Arn Chorn Pond, I lost my family, and by the end of it, the end of my speech, like people would make up a row of people come and take turn one by one, hug me, and they cry with me, and so that was the first time, sort of in a way, a turning point that it's good for me to share it when people know what I came through, about my experiences. They do care. The problem is that if they don't understand about where I came from, so I feel very good about it. And first time I was asked to speak for the Amnesty International annual conference in Georgia, where I met former President Jimmy Carter, and he cried also. We hugged each other, we take a picture together, and he said, you know, could you become a key speaker of Amnesty International? Then I said yes, and I became a key speaker of Amnesty for 15 years. After that, while I'm pursuing my college, I begin to involve a lot, because that's the reason I continue want to live, is that I want to tell the story. I have an urge to do it, and I have started. I've involved many other projects, many other organizations that, like Facing History and Ourselves, talking about Jewish Holocaust and meeting other Holocaust survivors. And I co-founded an organization called Children of War, which bringing young people from all over the world to come and share the story, their own story. We brought about 40 countries to come to New York and share the story that I've done. And I don't want them to go to, you know, I want the world to know what they went through in their countries. And the kids we brought usually from both sides of the conflict, like Palestinian, Israelis, Vietnamese, Cambodians, and we would work out how we can stop the hate between each other and share it to people, so maybe we can have the world a better place to live. And coming back here, those are 4 or 5, 10 years in America, and that heals me a lot by sharing my experience to different people, even kids in jail, gang kids that I work with. So in a way it heals me, and I continue to do this work and come back. In a way it's a full circle.
A person who have gone tremendous pain and suffering like Arn, I think it has, along the way, somehow, somewhere, there are good people who have offered kindness to him. I think that really helped a lot in terms of the support that he had when he came to the United States, you know, with his adopted parent and the people that he have encountered who have encouraged him along the way. I think without that, he may not become the helper. I think sometimes with helping is a process of reconnecting as well, whether it's reconnecting to your own internal conflict, or it's a process of reflecting on your own life and where you are and your own purpose in life, and also connecting, learning from other, connecting to other, and seeing and feeling how other offer you as you try to learn new things as a healing process. And I think that's important. And I think for Arn, helping others is a way of healing as well, of reconnecting and also to make sense of evil. You know.
Mental health is a new concept for Cambodians, but increasingly people recognize the need for psychotherapy. The Harvard University Program for Refugee Trauma offers psychological counseling for refugees suffering from the trauma of war. They also do psychological training for health professionals in Cambodia. Svang Tor works as health training director at the center.
We have a problem. The parent may never talk about how they gone through between 75 to 79. I think some parents may talk about it, some parents not. Like for myself, I didn't talk much about that to my own son, how I feel about all the loss that I had it. I never talk about that. One time I did say something about my son. He said, I said to him I feel he never talk about his father. He will never talk about his brother. I said, do you think about your father or your brother? He said, of course. Why you never talk about that? I said, I don't want to talk about that because it made people upset. That's the reason. Yeah, talking, it happened like a counseling, it helped. If you become depressed, you may think, some person may think oh, it's just only me, what happened to me. The other people, it's good, have a good life, it doesn't have the same problem as me. And then she may feel afraid to talk to people, because that's the idea they may not have the same problem like myself. And then afraid to talk, to share with the other people. Then keep to themselves, and the problem it come worse and worse. If you had first you may have a nightmare only once a while if you don't talk, and more, and then every day.
Religion also helps people heal. Arn's mother recently left her home in Phnom Penh to move to America. Before she left, she held a ceremony at her home to call up the spirits of her ancestors and dead husband together to bless her journey and Arn's work.
It's a mixture of Hinduism, animism, and also other spiritual beliefs. It's called Netta, you know, the spirit, the spirit that inhabit everything, from your house to the environment around you. So there's spirits everywhere. And I think that that video is more like, it's not really Buddhist. Yeah, it's more like Hinduism, animism, the belief in spirit and channeling. A person who is a medium go into a trance, and the spirit, they call a certain spirit to come inside of that person, and that person will become the spirit. Whoever's in trance becomes the spirit.
Many Cambodians try to forget their experiences during the Khmer Rouge times, yet memories continue to haunt them. In America, where few people know about the trauma they suffered, Cambodians often feel isolated and misunderstood. The 1984 American movie The Killing Fields is one of the very few portrayals in the American media of the violence of the Khmer Rouge regime.
I told my friend asked me to go with her. I went. And when I come out, my friend said, is it true? I said, yes. At only 1/3, maybe 1/3 or less than that, the reality. But everything in that movie is the truth. And then the other people said, it's just a movie. I said, nobody believed that. Yeah, it's hard for people to live like people did that to people, especially to their own people. Cambodian did to Cambodia. It's hard for people to believe it. First, I feel upset about that when I heard just a movie. It hurt me, because I live there. I have my own experience. It's not just a movie. And then I said, they don't know what we're going. We had to advocate and say, they had to tell people about that to understand it.
What I've learned from the Cambodian story is that in difficult and dangerous circumstances, people can be made to be vicious. By emphasizing differences and fanning fears, especially the young can be manipulated to follow evil orders. But I've also learned that the human spirit reaches for light. Family ties, religion, music, art, and just expressing fears to others who care are paths to healing. Everyone I spoke to about the future of Cambodia has hope that the culture will flower once again and that the condition of the people will improve over time. The healing goes on.
It's a learning lesson for me and for all of us in the world to know why it's such a beautiful place full of love, compassion, and then the killing field. We need to ask our question about the evil and good inside of each of us.